Welcome back to Mark Holbit's Vlog, everyone. Thanks for joining in. And guess what? Today I'm just going to do a real quick breakdown on the F Type, do a quick review from a yard ape's perspective. As a matter of fact, I've had people call me yard ape in the past. I mean, I don't know, you get these reputations sometimes. I've been called Turbo Boy, I've been called yard ape. But you know what? Let's just say I'm going to do a quick review. I see the F Type is running right now. It's getting dark out. Obviously, we're limited with the time that we've got here, but it doesn't matter. There's never a bad time to drive the F Type, and as a matter of fact, there's benefits to driving it at night because some of the lights and obviously ambient lighting and all of that, all your senses are even buzzing even more intently. But let's do a quick review on this, again, from a yard ape's perspective. Just change it up a little bit, and we'll just do a little quick walk around. Now, first of all, see what you guys think. Obviously, I'm loving the headlights. See, Jaguar has these great headlights. Obviously, we've got that, what you would say J for Jaguar. That's a cool theme. And of course, you always have lots of kitties. And of course, we're dealing with the F Type, so that's really great. This car is all about branding because it really does bring things back to the 60s. And so we have lots of kitties like that. And we have Jaguar written there. And we have Jaguar written on the handle. There's Jaguar lettering all over the glass. And I open up the door, and you'll notice I've got Jaguar there on the headrest on the aluminum. And it says Type R there, more decals. And we've got Jaguar written there. And even on there, you've got little Jaguar written on these little flips and these little switches here on the vents. Of course, you got Jaguar everywhere. We have Type R written here. Jaguar down there on the rims. And more F Type and more Jaguar written there. And there's the R because that's the V8. And it has the supercharged V8 with 550 ponies under this hood. And that's always something worth writing home about. Love the looks of the car. I'm sure most of you guys as well do too. But obviously right here, and because we're doing a bit of a review for those that maybe aren't familiar with these cars, we're dealing with the blade wheels. Carbon fiber blades here on these wheels, hence the blade term. And there's more logos with Jaguar on it. Of course, with these cars, you'll get glass roofs, carbon fiber roofs, or painted roofs, or a flat-out ragtop convertible as an option. Down here, you have quad tips because it's a V8. And you get even an upgraded exhaust system if it's the SVR. But the V6 car actually has the centered mounted chutes or the tailpipes right down there. And I'm not gonna lie, I personally like how you open the trunk here. You do it right here. And as opposed to the Mercedes over here, I gotta sit here and wave my foot around like a fool half the time, and this thing just doesn't want to open up, and I stand here like an idiot, like a yard ape, if you will, trying to get this thing to open, and it never will. And I end up having to pull up the key fob and pop it up this way because this thing never wants to go up. And then just randomly I'm walking by the car, and then poof, lo and behold, it'll open all by its lonesome. It just has a mind of its own. But here you get great LED lights. Obviously a little bit different than what you're finding in the F-Pace. This is a great look. Obviously the hips, hey, Marilyn Monroe ain't got nothing on the hips on an F-Type. Right there you go. And again, as I say, you can do this either with this. I can either pop that open with the key, or I can give it just one of those little toggles, and lo and behold, there it is, all by itself. It sort of powers itself up with its own energy. Obviously, you've got a little bit of junk in the trunk here, but this is how you open this. And buried underneath there is another cubby, and you've got storage, as well as you've got the battery. That's where the battery is located, down in that hole. So if you ever need to do anything charging or otherwise, that's a place you gotta look. Of course, these are on a little stringy dinghy, and there's an interesting place to have your windshield washer fluid cap filler right there. Look at that. Kind of a strange location, but there you have it. Let's just close it. Now you can either pull it manually. You got the holy shit handles right here. You can either do this electrically, or you can try it there, right there. But why don't we just hit that, and then we watch it close on its own energy, as you can see there. Now, because we're calling this a review, obviously there's people here that would like to know a little bit more about what the F Type's all about. This is the F Type R. Obviously, as I already mentioned, 550 horsepower, and I love it. Each and every moment behind the wheel of these cars. But you can also get a V6 in different variations and different states of tune. You could also get potentially a rear-wheel drive version of this with a manual stick shift. in certain versions of the V6, that's an option, and they also have a turbo 4-cylinder engine. It's about 300 horsepower. They're all great cars because they all look very, very nice, and it really is, the majority of this car's experience is the sight and the way the car looks and the overall essence of the car. It's not until that moment where you're hitting the on-ramp, the freeway on-ramp, that you're feeling the real wrath of what the V8 can do, is where the Type R, or essentially the SVR or the Project 7, really come into its own. But let's take a quick look inside the cabin. Do we circle around? Obviously these flip in and out, and I'm gonna flip this. And here, this is great. You've got this cool little boom, just like that. You've got the holy shit handle here because when the driver's getting crazy, you got a place to grip on. And you've got these well-bolstered seats. Now, people talk about you getting a squeak and a rattle back here. Well, who cares? You're not really paying attention for the most part because the quality of the interior, you're enjoying the lavishing in the lap of luxury and the sounds and the fury of the performance. Here, this is a later model. You don't have a cubby. Some of the earlier ones actually have a hole there and you can put some junk, a magazine or what have you. I have nothing like that. These simple glove box, all your plugins and electrics are right there for your stereo. Here you have all the seat controls right there and your electric locks and a simple little switch for your power windows, as you can see right there, up and down. And you'll notice you've got some mood lighting right there, and you're starting to see a little mood lighting right there, which is nice because it's that time of day we can actually see that. But I bet you want to see what's under the hood. Let's take a look. Let's just do this. Pop that. And we'll flip the doodah up there. And there you go. There's the heart of the beast. For everyone who wasn't sure, that's what it looks like. You've got the big blower mounted on top, snorkel on the front end with all your pulley assemblies, all 550 horsepower, and probably slightly less as miles go on, but there it is. That's the beast. You'll notice they cover everything up nicely here. All your other fill-ups and stuff are buried in behind there for your brake fluid. Got some fender liners here. This is all nice little individual panels. If you had to, they're probably replaceable. I know I've been seeing more and more people, unfortunately, on the forums where they're wrecking their car. I saw a really nice white one here the other day, actually on the forum, that looked like he piled it up into the ditch. The car got a little loose on him on wet roads, and it's really, really sad to see these cars when they get wrecked. And I hate to say this, it's almost weekly I see another wrecked one on the forums, and it's sad to say on one hand, and I really, really hope for everybody's best interest that everybody's okay. You never want to hear of anyone getting hurt because at the end of the day, these are great cars, but they can be replaced. Buy something else, buy another one, whatever. They're not super low production numbers that you can't find another one at some point. So as long as you're okay. But it is unfortunate to start to see some of these going away. I guess the fortunate part is the ones that are remaining on the roads can't go anywhere but up in terms of value. If there's less and less of them out there, obviously that's doing something for the value. Sometimes you actually have to give it a couple tries, even when you do it the right way, which is the way I did it right there. We have to slam it from the front. That gives you the best chance of alignment because sometimes these alignments go out of whack and you'll find some of these lines don't match up very nicely after you close it and open it a few times. These lines don't always work out. Like look at this one here. Totally misaligned, but that seems to be the way it is. And no, my car's never been in a collision, but that's just what you get with these F-Types. So if you're looking for a used one on the market, be prepared to scope out those little details, but good luck in actually getting a proper alignment because it doesn't last. Now don't be thinking that you're gonna grab a magnet. If you wanna go in there and you're checking for Bondo or damage, you probably won't find any ferrous materials. Because if you're going to take a magnet to somebody's car, first of all, they're probably going to get really pissed off and they're going to want to probably throw down. Or at the very least, you know, everybody's just going to be having a bad day of it. At the end of the day, we're talking about a lot of aluminum panels with these cars. All aluminum. I mean, if you're looking, all of these are aluminum panels. And so what that means is obviously a magnet won't stick to that. And so checking it for Bondo is not going to help you in a conventional manner. So anyway, enough about that. Let's go inside. So this is a really good time to lavish in the lighting. Obviously you don't see this during the day, but you have ambient lighting. Obviously some of your mood lighting is toggling there. You'll see mood lighting down there. And you'll notice there's some green hue, but there's also some red hue because that's fully adjustable. You go into your menu and then you swing over. You can actually go and do all kinds of different things. You'll notice right here, you have ambient lighting. I can toggle that, hit that button, and now I can change. Look, see that? Oh, so nice. What if we try something a little different? How about we go with the blue look? Whoa, look at how that's changed. So the ambient lighting is nice. You can tweak that. It gives you a different sense of sort of, again, bathe in the ambiance. Anyway, maybe we'll stick with the red. I do love the red. Let's go with that. And there we go. It brings a little craziness to the whole equation. We can go, obviously, we go back, and there's some other features. Obviously, media. I can turn on the stereo. We got climate controls in here, so obviously that shows you that's off, but I can toggle that, and then it brings everything to life. You'll notice it was all dead before, and you'll notice this here is your good pop-up vent that everybody seems to talk about. What we will do is we'll turn it off of, actually we can turn that off right now, but this vent pops up depending if you're using just standard heat. Usually, because it's the time of year, I'm using max defrost, and that way when you do that, it's using the top vents, and this guy doesn't pop up. This only pops up when you're using your standard blow. So we back out of this. Obviously, you can dial in your phone, get that set up on there, and we can also do, you can check out your cameras in control apps. That's the app that you can install on your phone, valet mode, and of course your contacts, all that junk you can program in there. And dynamic mode, you can change how you want your car to perform. Once you put it in dynamic mode, which is this little guy here, when you toggle that down, it goes there, and now you'll see the dash goes red. And now you'll notice when I toggle that, it's doing different things. So we can make that change, factory setup. Look at that. So factory setup, my setup. Why is everything in comfort? That must have defaulted when they changed up my, there must have been somebody monkeying around in here. I don't like that. Let's change that. Whoops. Dynamic. Why don't we put steering on dynamic? Why don't we put the gear shift on dynamic and the engine noise on dynamic? There we go. Absolutely bananas. That's the way I like it. So you can do this. Here's you can check out your throttle. So as I touch the throttle, you can see it revving up. And as I hit the brake, you can see the amount of brake that's applied. And as I push harder, it shows you that. It shows you all these great little features. Now, what if we go here? Now you can see, obviously, the amount of cornering G's. This is where it gets kind of fun. So you can actually have a little fun and monitor the G forces that you're pulling in the corners on braking, acceleration, or again, cornering. That can show you all that fun stuff. And yes, look at this. This is what I'm talking about. You get the stop start. You can actually do a quarter mile, or you can test your lap times on this unit too. So it's awesome. There's some great features here, and we can go back to there. And let's just go back and head it off to the main menu. Now, we don't worry about that. What we do worry about are the heater controls, because it's getting cold in here. We have start stop here, pretty standard features. Here is something you're going to probably want to consider here very, very soon, snowflakes. So if the snow hits, that's going to be something you're going to want. And we're in dynamic mode right now. Now I can toggle that off, and as I do, you'll notice the gauges go back to white. And here's your stereo controls on, off, and for volume. And of course, a lot of people are putting plugs in there. They put fun little plugsies in there. This is simply a DC charge. We've got basically just a plug filler in there right now. And I can just put that nonsense in there. Nothing needed. I don't smoke. That's not an ashtray, or that's not a lighter for me. And here, you'll notice traction control, slippery when wet. Love it. Here you go. Electric e-brake. And of course you have your auto shut off, which doesn't work on my car, probably because the batteries, when they get too drained, too low, regardless if it's turned on or off, mine's not working. And here's your wing. Only works when you're actually sitting and the ignition turned on but the car not running, is where you can actually activate this for cleaning your actual rear wing, which is located at the very back. As you can see, that wing can flip up at the flip of a hat, or a simple press of this little silly button. And of course, there's your exhaust tune. So you can get that full bore coming out of your exhaust at the press of this button, even without using dynamic mode. And of course, we've got a couple little, cup holders here for, the funs and doodads. Here, this is a funny little feature. How about this? I bet you guys didn't know about this one, but look at these little guys here. Small, tiny little sun visors here. Very, very small, very cute. and almost pointless. We can open this up, and of course now we have full view of the sky above, and this is glass, of course. You got to be very careful. Lots of stories out there of people taking a rock to that and that costing $7,000 or $8,000 to fix. So let's just close that up. Seat controls here, presets galore. Obviously, here's your open and close of the door, and window controls, obviously driver and passenger side, and you can toggle it. Here, obviously related to some of the menu items, which you'll find on the dash, and you can activate your phone from here. It's all like stereo controls. You can change your modes on the menu above. And again, there we go. So sets for stereo. You can actually heated steering wheel, which is really nice as it gets a little cold out here. Hitting this button does give you heated steering wheel. This is very, very nice. I'm going to turn that off for now. And obviously you've got cruise control controls and the wonderful, beautiful Jaguar sitting here in big, bold chrome right in front of your face. And there we are, cruising down the road in the F Type. Very, very rigid ride for sure. And that's the one notable thing with these cars is they feel like a sports car. They don't feel like your traditional Jaguar. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the money shot with the Jag, for sure. So as you can see down here, you'll notice right there, it'll tell you max G's. That was just a little blurb. We hit about 0.56 G on acceleration. Yeah, you gotta love that. And this is a second gear pull, so it's not even, this is not the meal deal, but. All right, so we pulled a 0.62 G on acceleration. That was with second gear rolling start, so nothing too severe, just a pretty casual run, but it still pulls pretty hard. I know if I geared it down to first gear and I pulled hard, I bet you I can get close to a G on acceleration, but to be determined yet. So stay tuned on that. So as you can tell, there's a very slight drone, but these cars, now we're in dynamic mode, and you hit little bumps in the road and undulations, and the car feels as rigid as almost any other sports car I've ever driven. I mean, I would almost say it's as rigid as the Lamborghini Gallardo I just sold, with the distinct difference, this does a way better job of not feeling like it's going to fall apart. The Gallardo was great, it was ultra rigid, but it was harsh. It was actually almost to the point of rattly. When you hit a bump too hard, it felt like something was going to come loose, whereas a Jag feels well bolted together, and part of that could be because it's a newer car. But to be honest, the Lamborghini only had 42,000 kilometers on it, and the Jag has, now we're at 60,000 kilometers. So it's not a matter of, you know, the car being so many miles on the road and being, you know, exposed to all kinds of rough conditions. The fact of the matter is the Jag is holding up very, very well. With 60,000 kilometers, it still feels just about as tight as you could expect it to. These cars, very rigid, and especially in dynamic mode, the steering is almost perfect. And especially for a vehicle that's all-wheel drive, you often expect a lot of delayed response on the steering. You often expect a lot of gross understeer, but you're not getting understeer with this car. You're actually getting pretty direct steer. You feel really, really connected to the road. And honestly, the F Type has the connected feel. It has the throttle response that you could ask for. It's electrifying, and part of that's because it's supercharged, right? You've got a V8 engine strapped with a supercharger on the back of it, and that is a major factor as to why you get that immediate thrust and that immediate throttle response, which it's electrifying. I mean, cars like a 911 Turbo are blisteringly and blindingly fast, but it's usually a hair of delay in there. There's a little throttle response. A lot of other cars too. I've driven cars like GTRs, and anything that's turbocharged often has a little bit of an inherent delay, where the F Type doesn't have that. It has that very linear feel that you would expect from a naturally aspirated engine. Naturally, it doesn't have, you know, if you're like thrust out of 1,000 RPM, you still got to build RPM to get that power development. But that's no different than a naturally aspirated engine. All I'm saying is a supercharger really mimics, but just raises the whole offset of power output across the band. And really, the supercharged V8 just makes this car feel incredible. So it handles well, it's rigid, it accelerates like it's like it's got its ass burning on fire. And honestly, this car just goes like a bat out of hell. Really not much more like it, and not much more to be said about its overall level of performance. It feels as sporty as anything you could expect from anything exotic or premium sports. It doesn't feel like, you know, a large wallowy luxury car that's set up to drive in a spirited fashion. This feels like a true sports car and borderline supercar. So these cars are absolutely amazing. And so to the point of how did I get those nicknames? Well, I got the nickname Turbo because I used to have 911 Turbo, and you know, I used to like to kind of rip around. I spent time at the racetracks, all of that. So I just developed the name Turbo. I didn't name myself that, but others called me Turbo. And the term yard ape, well, hey, years ago in construction, I remember working with some guys, and one of my foremen there basically said, hey, called everybody yard ape. That was just his deal. He just had this feeling like he had to call everybody a yard ape, including me. At the time, I was, a young guy on the tools, and really nothing short of a yard ape, I guess, and that's what he called us that. So the name seemed to have stuck, you know, coming from construction many, many years ago. It just seemed fitting, and so, you know, that term yard ape is sort of stuck. And so either or, Turbo Boy, yard ape, whatever, or just call me Mark, you know, whichever you prefer. But anyway, that's just the review, guys. I want to drop it down from a real man's, layman's perspective. I'm not here to blow smoke. I didn't want to do a suit and tie style of review. I wanted to do something kind of layman. So it's right, you know, cut to the chase, talk like a real guy. If you're standing on there, you know, if you're coming along for the ride with me, or if you're standing there on the driveway with me and I'm talking to some buddies, that's how I'm probably going to talk. And I just wanted to give you straight. So, hey, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this short, brief, and somewhat comprehensive review of the F Type R. And if there's any doubt as to whether you want to buy one, if you don't already have one, please at least go take a drive in one, and I think you'll be convinced. There's very little else out there like this. If you're not already a subscriber, please do. Hope to see you guys on the next time. See you then. Bye-bye.